We move on. We move on to Anthony Dean Harris. I'm gonna attempt. Yeah, he's a good one. You see him everywhere, right? And you hear him. Oh, that's right, you do hear him. But who is he, really, you know? I'm gonna read this, and I'm gonna try to read it. Like I said, he's what? He's the ADH. I got it. Yeah, he's the ADH. I'm going to attempt to read this, but again, I said I was dyslexic, so I may be talking about somebody else completely. So, Harris Anthony Dean wanders throughout life hey, y'all, come on, I'm trying to read. Anthony Dean Harris wanders throughout life into whatever he finds interesting and tends to linger in places until folks figure out that he might be helpful. And that's an ad lib there. But anyway, so he is an editor-in-chief and content writer for the modern jazz blog nextbop.com. He hosts a radio program at Jazz 91.7 FM KRTU. It's on Friday nights at 9 p.m. He's also an archivist and a co-conspirator at Flight Gallery. Yep, give it up for Flight Gallery. He writes for Beatdown magazine, and he's basically around wherever you can find him. Let's give it a round of applause for Anthony Dean Harris, ADH. Not to mention, didn't he look great? Didn't he look great in his picture that was on Facebook and on social media? Didn't he look great in that photograph? I mean, I thought, handsome guy, huh?
Thank you. Hey there, everybody. Okay, so a couple of things. One, my whole family couldn't show up this evening, my immediate family. My sister, I'm going to get into this later, she recently gave birth to my nephew, so yeah, shouts out to my sister to Chanel for that. My mother is in a conference in Utah right now, so she couldn't make it. My father, for health reasons, couldn't make it. So yeah, if anybody is recording this right now and could send this to my family later, I would greatly appreciate it. On top of that, one more thing. In the most I am in my 30s moment that I've recently just happened in my life, this morning while in preparation for this, I'm getting out of the shower, I'm reaching out for a towel, and I can lift my arm only so far right now because I definitely pulled something in my back. So if I make a groaning noise in the middle of this presentation, there is a reason why. That said, as of 18 days ago, my sister gave birth to Omari Alexander Dean, and I became an uncle. Since I'm not great with family, I figured the best way to explain to my little nephew who Uncle Anthony is to kill two birds with one stone and to use this convenient presentation of my life's work to the city of San Antonio as an introduction. Otherwise, to the rest of y'all, why am I here? Much of my path has never been particularly pointed. I tend to wander into whatever I find interesting at the time. Most of the projects I undertake more happen to me than I manifest them myself. As a child, I loved television and jazz music, two things that taught me early on human behavior, patterns, and presentation. That, and the parallel structure of the sermons of the late Reverend R.L. Arshield Sr. of Friendship Baptist Church on Iowa Street, taught me a love of language. Then, back when Six Flags moved into town and bought Fiesta, Texas, and built a rather nice water park to rival that rather janky Splash Town over at IH-35, I saw the moment that changed my life, a commercial. Come to Splash Town, now with shorter lines. Why are the lines shorter? Not people don't really go here that much. No. The lines are shorter. From then on, I found out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to find the best way to explain things. So, after that, I went on to high school, middle school, high school, went to high school, East Central. And then I went off to college. I went to Morehouse College. It's an all-black, all-male school. You've heard about it. That's me in the corner right over there. We had a white valedictorian the year that I graduated. I know, it's weird. But I learned self-identity, I learned about myself, and then I graduated with an English degree in the middle of the Great Recession. So, I came back home to my hometown of San Antonio. And I worked for a city council race. That was consequential. Ask me about that one later. But that led me on to finding out about the jazz station in San Antonio, working over here, getting the radio show here, where I took on a modern jazz show, where I ended up being kind of like, it was somebody else's show, but I ended up taking it over for somebody else. And I became I've already ran over this joke and I ran over too much time. We'll get back to that one later. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And through that, in a response to an NPR blog, or as a piece of Blog Supreme, I connected to a guy in Montreal and ended up running his jazz blog. It's a modern jazz blog. Because I like to think about jazz music as a living art form. Because whenever you talk about jazz music, normally someone names someone dead. And I'm trying to avoid that. So, see, the thing is, I'm not exactly a novice at this. I tell this story a lot. I took piano lessons when I was a kid under Mrs. Mary Crumple, but I never did practice. So every Saturday, I would go to my piano lesson and essentially relearn the piano every week. So eventually, she passed away. Then my great-grandmother ended up teaching me piano lessons. She also passed away. That's the thing. So eventually, I stopped taking piano lessons. I lost the ability. I retained the ear. All this put me in the position to book jazz shows when they came across my plate. You see, I'm not really a show promoter, but I know the field a little, and when musicians contact me about San Antonio, sometimes I figure out how to put them on. After so many jazz adventures, one day, while having a beer at the filling station tap room, I met an artist named Justin Parr, who in a relatively short time became one of my closest friends and collaborators, and he introduced me to San Antonio's contemporary art scene. I started helping out at his art gallery and became part of a crew that helps present other people's work well. Because I felt I could learn principally the same notions of presentation with contemporary art that I could figure out how to do with jazz music. So I helped him with many of his projects. Slide number 4, Splashdown. He painted that sign. I'm the one who put the thought in his head. I wrote the instructions for use for his Laughter and Forgetting 2016 show, repurposing the old Sitco station on South Alamo, of which this is the 3rd anniversary of that show today right now. It's based on the Father John Misty's Exercises for Listening insert and the vinyl for I Love You Honey Bear, which we were both obsessed with back in 2015. I helped him organize the gallery's semi-private campout at his house in the woods for 3 years running. I helped him write his PechaKucha. That was a fun, tense car ride back from Big Bend Ranch State Park, I'll tell you that. He'll likely Tom Sawyer me into all kinds of silly adventures, but I rarely mind. But still, I wander into adventures on my own. Much of my long-form writing takes the form of travelogues of my time covering music festivals, my meditation series, you can Google that. Not just the music parts, but the life and the observations in between, on the quest for the finest chicken and waffles in the land being defined on where I happen to be at the time, because if you tell me to go to Los Angeles, I'm not very often in Los Angeles. I can't get there, I'm just saying. If you're going on my love for Austin's late Trailer Space Records, rest in peace, of the pains of charging a phone in Durham, North Carolina, where all the electrical sockets seem to be happening somewhere up near the ceiling. It's very weird. Or my general sense of lingering, or my adorable mild narcolepsy, which all of my friends have documented at some point of time in my life. See, the thing is, I have always taken pleasure in breaking down the small things, as writers are often wont to do, and everything in my life is broken, as indicated by my rib right now. Whenever I'm roped into assisting the facilitation of someone else's project or prosaically capturing someone's moment or tailoring words for presentation to the world, I'm acting as a moon, reflecting the light of others. This used to bother me, wondering why I wasn't shining on my own. The writer Chuck Klosterman once described the difference between writing fiction and nonfiction in an interview. He said that nonfiction is describing a table. The table exists. I can look at the table and with words capture the quality of the table to the reader so that they can see that table in their mind's eye. Fiction is making a table. A table with all that same level of relatability and concreteness, all without the benefit of looking at that table for reference because you're in the act of making it in the time. I'm pretty lazy. I don't make too many tables. But I've gotten more comfortable with the idea of being a prism, a reflector and a reframer of light, wandering about, bringing about the quality of others for the light that they are, every now and then finding something of my own to say, and even my own writings are reframings. So in conclusion, I describe myself in a bunch of different ways. I'm around. I'm an archivist and co-conspirator, a writer, a wanderer, a lingerer, an artist peripheral, a journalist, a critic. But for this, I'm an editor, because they ain't crazy about those slashes and the titles that they tell me, so they're saying. I say this to my nephew Omari. Otherwise, y'all, like I end my radio show, my name is Anthony Dean Harris. Thanks for listening to my PechaKucha this evening. Thanks for listening to everybody else this evening. In the overnight, listen to KRT San Antonio. Have a good night, San Antonio. Have a good night, Internet. Have a good night, everybody.
No. Yeah.
There we go. Hey, Ethel.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
That was quick.
I talk fast.
I never knew that about you. When I see you, you're talking very slowly by the time I see you in the evenings.
I may be falling asleep.
And I don't even stay out late. I'm asleep by 6. No, I'm just kidding. Who are you next editing?
What's
the list?
I've been doing this website for a while now. There have been people who've worked for me for a while, who've left afterwards. The one guy is really weird.
You have people?
I've got people. It's very weird.
Yeah, cool.
There's this one dude who lives in New York, and he wrote for my website for a little while.
I need people.
Later for the New York Observer. Oh no, they're not paid.
Oh,
they're not paid. It's jazz music on the internet. It's not that much money. But people like doing it, and I appreciate it. I am so blessed that they're here and they do it. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to do so.
That is the oh my goodness, that's the Downbeat? Is that what the one?
So Downbeat, I'm a contributing writer. I write reviews every now and again for Downbeat.
The website is Next Bop?
The website is Next Bop.
Beat Town. Did what I said, Downbeat?
You said Beat Town.
I told you I'm dyslexic. It works both ways for me. Just catch up, people. Catch up.
Oh, I thought you were making an opening bit with Harris Anthony Dean. Like, oh man, that's great.
No. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. That's what she was doing. That's what she was doing.
That's the reason I don't need to stay out late. You see what I'm saying? My world is full forwards and backwards, my friend. I'm sorry. You were saying about your website?
No, I feel pretty good right now. Yeah, it's a modern jazz website. I'm the editor of it. A couple of guys out of Canada made it, and they found my radio show shortly after I started taking over the lineup.
And what year was that? When just right as soon as you took over the lineup, they found your radio show?
Yeah, like a few months after that, they're like, "Hey, would you like to write for us?" Like, sure. And then they knew that I was. Then I was like, well, working with them, they found out I was the opinions editor for the school paper at Morehouse. This is because shortly after I graduated, and they were like, "Oh, you're competent. Would you like to edit this?" Yeah. I'm like, yeah. So then became the editor of it. So I've been doing this for going on 10 years now. And for there aren't that many music blogs in general out there right now in the year of our Lord 2019. So for me to still doing this out of sheer inertia is great. In jazz music, even more so. So
tell us a little bit about Beat Down Downbeat.
It's how long has Downbeat been around? Since the 1950s, 40s? Since the 1940s. I've been an editor asked me if I'd like to write reviews every now and again I do. I just finished something yesterday, which it's a good thing I finished writing this earlier this week, because otherwise, I was still on deadline yesterday. Every now and again I write reviews, and they pay me a little bit of money for it, and I get a free T-shirt every year, and I'm glad about that.
And where's the next 3 places we're going to see you hanging about until people find you helpful?
Let's see. Well, I linger at Flight Gallery I'm the archivist and co-conspirator there.
And what are your hours there lingering?
Let's see. I usually take the Sunday shift. So I'm Sundays from 12 to 5 there. You can hear my radio show, The Lineup, Fridays at 9, all modern jazz music. I probably should figure out what I'm doing this week, but you know what? It's only Tuesday. I got time. Let's say that. 2, 3, let's see. I work the counter Dignity Meats as an actual day job, but that's not really a thing for the presentation. But you know what? Think rent has to get paid somehow, so let's say that.
Okay, guys, you have Anthony's schedule for the rest of the week, and
there we are.
You'll know where to find him.
Like a noir novel, you can track me down.
Ask him for lunch, get a beer, whatever he needs. Thank you. Let's give it up for Anthony Dean Harris.